Hey guys, welcome to
Hey,
another edition of Deep Dive Haunts. Nope, podcast. I don't even know what I'm on. Deep Dive Podcast. This is episode 28.
yep.
Tonight we have Emerald Raven on with us. So we'll get to him in a moment. Wednesday, June 24th. Tim is going to be hosting along with Misty the 918 files. That'll be at 7 p.m. Central.
Yep.
Sunday, June 28th, Museum of Lost Souls. Stephanie will be here. That is also at 7 p.m. Central. I will be out on vacation
Oh, excuse me.
all week. Um, but they will be here and they will be running the show. And I have all complete confidence that they are going to do a really great job. So,
Oh, got it. We got it.
you guys pop on in, say hi in the comments. Feel free to ask Emerald Raven any questions that you guys have. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes. Yeah.
So, you run Emerald Ravens Hollow. Tell us a little bit about that page.
All right. So right now, it's pretty much something I use to let people know about new products that I'm making, where I'm going to be, what I'm doing. Emerald Ravens Hollow. The name is fairly new. I was going by Emerald Raven Mystic for a while, but then I realized Mystic is my title, but the Hollow is my place. So I needed to make a switch up there. I have written 4 books that they were published, but I unpublished them, did some formatting changes, changed the covers. Relaunch party coming July 25th at Goddess Elite in North Olmsted, Ohio. I remember correctly, that's 1 to 5, but if you follow Emerald Ravens Hollow on Facebook, you'll absolutely get all that information. I do a line of energy protection energy cleansing and protection sprays with frankincense, Palo Santo, sage, because not everybody can burn things. So this is more of a smokeless option for people who can't do that, and they work just as well. I just recently released the first 3 spices in my legendary spice line. I have a coffee brisket and steak rub. I have a sweet barbecue, and then a house rub that is completely from my imagination, and wasn't sure how it was going to work until I tried it, and I was like, well, there you go.
There you go. That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is actually awesome. And those are also available on that page?
The information for it's available. I don't have anything actually for sale on the page, unfortunately, but I do some psychic fairs and paracons here and there where all that information can be found. Also, if you look up Rhodes Marketplace in Sandusky, Ohio, they do have most of my products. And you can either go there. Almost every Saturday, I'm there offering oracle reading and energy healing as well. So if you want to come up there, you can get the stuff directly from me at the store or at one of the other events that I go to. But like I said, all of that's on Emerald Ravens Hollow because I never know what's coming until it arrives. So there's very little that I can actually too much plan ahead, unfortunately.
Right.
There's only one event every year that I know that I'm going to be at, and it's twice a year. And that is the Wine and Spirits event at Wagner's of Westlake in Ohio. It is ran by Goddess Elite LLC. The next one is coming, I want to say September 12th. I will be reading and vending at that as well. So, and there will be a bunch of vendors and some great readers there. So it's something that we always look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I've gone into all my products, but who am I? I am a shaman trained in the Paco Cuna traditions of Peru. If I'm remembering correctly, I believe my teacher actually studied with shamans in the Andes. So, and then he taught more people. So, and I was called to that tradition by my ancestors who came to me in let me remember, it was a shamanic journey circle. To me, it was basically like a vision quest. So I was called to that line of work, and then within a month or two, that class was coming up, so I jumped on it. I'm developing my mediumship skills as well. And obviously, I make a bunch of stuff, and I'm an author because I mentioned my books, and a paranormal investigator. And Rhodes Marketplace that I mentioned before, we do offer ghost hunts there. Once again, everything that I'm talking about, you can find all the information at Emerald Ravens Hollow. And on YouTube, I do a show, Journey into the Unknown with Emerald Raven, where season 1 was cryptid and mythological creatures. So I'm taking 2 creatures for each letter of the alphabet, researching them, giving a breakdown of them, giving my opinion on them, because I've always got something to say. And that's season 1, which is up and it's complete. I believe it's A through E. Season 2, I just started last week, and it is famous paranormal cases. I started with The Devil Made Me Do It. I'm doing those in 2 parts. And on the second part, I'll give my opinion on that case. So I'll be going back and forth between cryptid and mythological creatures and paranormal activity, so that, there's a variety. And my brain just turned off. I can't think of another word.
That happened.
Especially when you have the paranormal hangover going on, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I'm drinking electrolytes.
Yeah. So you mentioned healer.
Yes.
Is that through your shaman practices, or is it
Yes.
Reiki?
Yep. It's through my shamanic practices, yes.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Yep.
And so, for those of us that don't know, I mean, I know a little bit about shamans and what they do.
Yeah.
But what do they do?
So my basic function as a healer is I bring you in, I open my space, I call in my teachers, my spirit guides, whomever else, and I open my space, which allows me to have 1 foot spirit world, 1 foot in the physical world. And my job is basically to hold the space open for spirit to work on you and help you get the stagnant energy out and bring new energies in. Goodness, if I don't quit kicking stuff. My job is to hold the space. I don't really do much. Spirits do all the work. But I do, coach you through it and tell you, we need a big breath. I need you to see, such and such a color light coming up through your feet and, through whatever. And I go each part of the body until it comes out of your head. And then I'm like, now release that energy and let this energy come back in. And in the end, most people feel better. They feel lighter. I've had a few people say that they've left from me and their quality of life improved.
That's
even
awesome.
if only slightly. So, that's my basic function as a shaman. There's some mediumship that comes with that too. Sometimes when the space is open, I'll connect with a spirit that is with them, a parent or a loved one that's passed who wants to get something through to them. Every once in a while, that doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. And that's usually where the best healing comes from, because that's exactly what they needed that day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much living in balance with nature to help other people have a better way of life.
Awesome.
And I do my best.
Right. right?
Mm.
Sounds like that would actually be intense.
It can be. I've had a few times where I've been in a healing and I've actually got knocked back.
Oh, cool.
Um, I physically got knocked into a wall.
Oh my God.
And so I'm like, okay, so either this person is being very stubborn and won't let me in, like they initially said they wanted to, or something else entirely is here that I've got to get rid of.
Okay.
And I usually quickly figure out which is which.
That's good.
Every now and again, to get somebody to trust me, I have to actually take in some of their pain into my own body and do the work myself to get rid of it. And once they see that slight relief, then they trust me a little more and let me in.
Okay.
We're not technically supposed to do that, but it's like, if it's going to work and it's going to help the person on my table, then I'm willing to go through what I have to go through at the time, because I have the tools not to keep that energy.
Mm-hmm.
I can pass it, and there's no problem.
Okay.
When I first started, I kept the energy for a little bit accidentally, and I forget what it was, but the person who told me about the class, she called me a couple choice names and said, "You know better." And I'm like, "I know. Let me go take care of it." So yeah,
Okay.
that's the best I can explain it.
Interesting. Tim, go ahead.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm a big fan of what you're doing. I'm huge into cryptids and shamans. I'd want to learn as much as I possibly can because I'm really, really interested in those subjects.
Yeah.
I don't study or don't know anything about those. So this podcast is really going to be fascinating to me as far as that goes. So what you say your teaching everything come from the country of Peru. So is there a certain culture there that you follow, or is a culture that was there that would go through?
I wouldn't say there's a certain culture that I follow. From what I understand, the shamanism practices there are pretty fluid. They have some inspirations from all different kinds of religions and everything. I mean, there's Christianity. I know Catholics who studied with my teacher as well, and they do some of the same work that I do. So it's not really just that culture itself. I don't really follow that personally, because it's like, what can I do in the dead center of Ohio that could even remotely look like what they're doing in the mountains of Peru?
Okay.
Nothing. I live just outside of a decent, it's an all right sized city. I mean, I'm halfway between Cleveland and Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much I can do. So I do my best to honor their traditions spiritually. I have Mohegan State Park very close to me, so I'll go out in the woods and meditate and, talk to the trees, stand in the river. That's my favorite thing to do, is stand in the river and just let the water wash the old energy away and bring new clean energy in. It's one of my favorite things to do. And the spot that I go to is so perfect because you have to have the water, the wind, the sun, earth. And there's trees around me. There's just enough of an opening that I'm standing in the sun. I'm standing in the water, and the wind is coming through, always blowing. It never fails to blow when I'm standing out there. I'm like, so I've got all these elements right here blowing and doing what they got to do. I'm like, I couldn't ask for a better spot to do this meditation work at.
Okay. That was what I was going to ask. Is there a lot of meditation involved in what you do
Absolutely.
as far as doing that too? That's something I don't know a lot about either. So that I find that very interesting as well. So how did you come up with your you got some interesting names for your cleansings and your protection.
Yeah.
How did you come up with those names? How do you derive with the names that you got for them? Because I'm kind of curious.
I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not even going to pretend that I had some big epiphany. I went on Chat GPT and I said, "Hey, what sounds good for the
Okay.
traditions of Peru, but to honor the traditions that I studied and that I practiced, but also to honor my Cherokee heritage."
Okay.
And it gave me a bunch of different things, and I'm like, okay, I like this one, but let's change that word to this. And then I like that one, but not for the one you're giving it to me for. So, I switched some things around, and I'm like, this sounds more like frankincense than this one does. So we're going to use this for frankincense, but that sounds more like Palo Santo. So let's use that for this.
Okay. That's
So,
interesting concept. Oh, cool.
because when I first came out with them, they were just so boring. It was white sage and Palo Santo, white sage and frankincense, Palo Santo, frankincense, white sage. And I'm like, that's boring. We need to find something better.
Oh, gotcha. That sounds cool. So, Oracle, tell me about how you practice. How do you practice or do that? How do you foretell? As an Oracle, do they foretell the future? Do you foretell people's futures, or do you foretell what's happening with them? So I'm trying to understand the Oracle side of your process.
Technically, no, that's not technically how it works. I read cards. It's almost like it's tarot. It's tarot's cousin, I call it.
Okay.
So I read the cards, and based on whatever the card's meaning is, I use my intuition, and I try to read that person's energy and tell them like this is applying here. Sometimes now I get lucky sometimes because my first question is, what kind of reading are you looking for? And I'm like, give me one word like love, job,
Okay.
so I can start the proper interpretation. But you've got people who will be difficult, and you say, oh, just a general reading. I'm like, okay, I'm going to generalize all of my words. So I say, this is what it means. So it could apply to this, but it could also apply to this, this, or this. And then eventually I get them wore down to the point that they start telling me what they actually want to know.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay. And then I go back. A lot of readers won't do this. They'll just keep going. I go back and explain exactly how this card applies, how this card applies, how this card applies. I actually had a couple people not too long ago that were so impressed that they, by the reading, that they went to the person hosting the event and bragged about it. And I'm like, I mean,
Wow.
I love that. That's great. But when you tell somebody that, ego starts to creep in. It's like, I cannot have my ego creep in. It's not about me. It's
Okay.
about them. So sometimes I have to check myself. I'm like, listen, you did great, kid, but move on. Don't get a big head about it.
I understand completely.
Yeah, so sometimes I got to check myself, like, keep your ego under control because it's not about you.
Gotcha.
It's
I
like,
understand
yeah,
how that
you're
could
right. You're right.
That could happen very easily. I'm sure that it could.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And there's some people. I don't mean to badmouth anybody ever, but there are some people who they let their ego take over, and I'm like, listen, Spirit is not going to keep blessing you with your gifts if you use it to stroke your own ego and not what it's for, healing people.
Okay.
And
I got you.
whether they listen or not, it's on them.
Oh,
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I would like, maybe I'll come and have you do a reading because I'm fascinated by this whole process. I really,
I'd
really am.
love to.
I mean, I really am. So let's switch a little bit. I'll get into cryptids here after a while because I'm a huge cryptid person. I really am. I want to go hunting so badly and look for a cryptid. So tell me about the paranormal side. How did you get involved in being a paranormal investigator? I mean, we all have our methods. We all have a reason.
Right. So I've always been able to see spirits. The house I grew up in had a guy who passed away right before we got the house, and he was there. And of course, he passed away in his sleep, so I got his bedroom. I would see him every now and again standing in the window, and I'm just like, you know what, do what you got to do. I'm not coming up there right now. And there were nights I would hear walking in my room, and I'd call him out by name. I'd say, "Listen, you got to sit down and let me sleep, or you got to go. Like, I understand this was your house when you were alive, but it's our house now, so I need you to chill out and let me sleep, or you got to go." And then I would see the chair in my room move a little bit, like somebody sat down in it. And I'm like, well, I guess he listened. But parents, some parents, not all, will try to convince you that, it's just your imagination, you're a kid, So there was a short period of time where I believed that. And then I was in the Mansfield Police Explorers when I was a teenager, and they do the parking, or used to do the parking detail for the Ohio State Reformatory's haunted house that they do in October.
Okay.
So one night I was at the exit, and it was dead, so no pun intended. So I was looking at the building. I had my flashlight, and I was going through the windows, looking at everything. And on one of the floors, I saw a lady standing there looking out at the people that were there. And so one of the volunteers had come by, and I said, "Hey, what's up on that floor?" He said, "Nothing, it's closed." I said, "Uh-huh." So he saw the look on my face. He's like, "What did you see?" I said, "I saw a woman standing in that window." I said, "But the problem is, at first I thought she was part of the haunt, like one of the actors or something. But then I realized I was seeing the wall behind her through her."
Wow.
And so he said, "Can you take a break?" And I said, "Let me call in." So I got on the radio and asked to take a break. They sent somebody to relieve me. I went in the break room. He pulled out a bunch of pictures, and I picked the lady that I saw, and it turned out it was Helen Gladkey, the warden's wife, who had suffered from a gunshot wound when the warden still lived on site.
Correct.
Of course, she didn't die on the property like a lot of stories say. She died a little bit later in the hospital of pneumonia. The gunshot's not what killed her. But that, the gunshot being the thing that killed her is the most commonly said thing. And I'm like, that's not true at all. Like, we all knew her son, so we knew the true story.
Okay.
Well, it turns out the volunteer I picked just so happened to be the ghost hunt manager. And I had no clue. So he told me that, and so from that day on, things just started to progress. I had some more experiences then. That October, I had more experiences, and then I became a volunteer where I helped with the historical tours and ghost walks. And once you walk through that building for 4 years after dark with the lights out, you hear and see some things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then something happened that made me leave the paranormal for almost 5 years. And that's when I started writing Journey into the Unknown, my experiences with all things paranormal, because a friend said, I think writing them down would help.
Okay.
And so by the time I got to the end of the book, and one of my high school teachers had a couple books published, so she was like, listen, do it through Amazon. It's free. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I published. It must have been 3 months after I hit submit. I signed up for a ghost hunt at the Reformatory. I went back to the Reformatory. You can see that interaction on my Facebook. I kind of went off on the spirits because for that 5 years, I'm almost 28 years old at this point. So this was just a few years ago, really. I mean, I'm 33 now, so it was just a few years ago that I faced it. I'm like, I am a 28-year-old man who is scared of the dark. That's not okay. So
Gotcha.
I went to that spot where that event happened, and I lost my mind. And there was 2 other people in the area, and when I finished, I was like, if you understood what I just said, I need you to give me 2 knocks in that back room. And all 3 of us heard 2 distinct knocks back there. I'm like, I really hope I got that on camera. But the knocks didn't come through. Only me losing my mind came through. But
Oh,
you could hear the other people say, "We heard those two knocks."
gotcha.
So from that point on, I made it to the prison the rest of that night using my light very seldomly, obviously on the stairs and stuff, because ain't nobody trying to fall down the stairs at that place.
Mhm.
But then it just kind of progressed. After I published the book, my teacher put me in touch with the owner of Goddess Elite in North Olmsted. She ended up putting my books in her store, um, gave me my first public event as an author, and I just, I kind of built Emerald Ravens Hollow from that moment up till I called it Emerald Ravens Hollow about a month ago, is when I
Okay.
changed the name to Emerald Ravens Hollow. Before I didn't really have a name. My banner said, Richie Grubbs, author of Journey into the Unknown. And I'm like, yeah, we got to do something better than that.
Hmm.
But I started using a white sage spray that I could only get at Goddess Elite. And I'm like, man, I live an hour and 15 minutes away. I really don't want to drive up there every time I need a new spray. So I'm like, well, let's find our own recipe.
Gotcha.
So I started looking into Cherokee remedies and for protection and stuff, and I only found one recipe, which I think was for either the sage or the Palo Santo. But then I just applied it to the rest of them. I'm like, if it worked for that, it'll work for this too.
Oh, gotcha.
So
What?
I started doing that, and I started selling some stones like obsidian, lapis, amethyst. And then next thing I knew, I had 3 more books, some drawings, some craft lace keychains, some bracelets. You can see I'm wearing 2 of them right now, and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, when did all of this happen? I was thinking about that the other day. Yesterday, I was at the store in Sandusky that I was talking about earlier, and I was looking at my table. It doesn't have everything on it right now, but I'm looking at the stuff that's there. I'm like, when did one book become this?
Gotcha.
I do not know how I got from one book to a 6-foot table with absolutely no room from front to back and side to side.
Wow.
I was like, how and when did that happen?
Gotcha. So you think it's been a calling? Did something
Oh,
you've
absolutely.
something that's always been destined to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
So
really cool.
I think what happened was my gifts started developing when I was at the reformatory, and I had started drinking and doing certain drugs and stuff like people do in their early 20s. And in the middle of all of that is when I had that experience. Like, I was sober the day I had the experience, but it scared me away. And then I started developing again about 3 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was now, when I did the apprenticeship program. Well, things are getting stronger and stronger. I'm seeing things, I'm feeling things that I've never seen and felt before, going through this, that, and the other. And I started drinking again. And then a few weeks ago, so part of my mediumship, and I do not like this, and I'm hoping it develops beyond that and I don't have to deal with it much longer, is that sometimes when a spirit interacts with me, because I can't really hear names or like see or speak, I'll get the symptom of what took their life. And once I pass that symptom on, somebody will say, well, I know XYZ who passed away from that. If that's the person, the pain lifts. Well, a few weeks ago, I ran into a spirit who, based on the symptoms I had, somebody who is a recovering addict told me, it sounds like she just gave you an overdose. And I'm like, okay. So I sat with it for a few days and I realized the feelings that I was having during that overdose are the same feelings I have when I'm drunk. And I'm like, I don't want that, because that showed me how much am I actually poisoning my body by drinking too much. And like, if I keep on the path I'm going down now, I will lose my gifts. I will get cut off. I will not be able to walk the path that I was called to and heal people. And I'm probably going to end up passed on myself. I'll probably
Okay.
end up one of the spirits that other people are investigating. And
Okay.
trust me, I would be a fun one. But so in the last, even my aunt passed away a couple weeks ago, even at her funeral, I had 3 drinks in total and I didn't even do a single shot. In the last 3 weeks, I probably had 6 total drinks and 2 shots, where I
Okay.
used to drink 8 or 9 drinks in one night and do
Sure.
7 or 8 shots. So I'm like,
Gotcha.
this has changed me. So, you know, walking this path has healed me and has actually saved my life.
Oh,
And for
cool.
that, I'm always going to be grateful. And that is why I work as hard as I do to get Emerald Raven out there, because other people need to be able to experience the change that comes from this type of work.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's really a cool thing. I'm going to turn it back over to Brendan now because this is so interesting. It
I
is.
you can keep going. I mean, I'm just learning. I'm like, this is
Oh, okay.
uh,
Well, that's a big help. You're supposed to have a question or two.
but I don't. I'm just fascinated by learning his story
Okay.
and
So I'm going to run with the paranormal just a little bit more. I've investigated the Beale Manor, which was really pretty
Oh,
cool.
yeah. I've been there.
That's a cool place to go to. That's a really, really active. So
Yeah.
tell us places you've gone to and tell us of an experience that actually part of your teaching was enlightening to you or something that maybe you ran across during that time.
So I won't go too deep into experiences that are in the book, because obviously, to get the full details of that, you purchase my book. But there's been a lot that's happened that didn't make the book because I didn't do the shamanic apprenticeship till after the fact. So, the last 3 years, there's nothing written down, and I don't really talk too much about it except for with friends. So that stuff I can talk about. So I always say that learning shamanism has given me a new respect for spirit, because before I was one of those people like you see on TV who go in and they scream, they holler, they carry on, they provoke, and now I'm like, they're humans just in a different form. So why are we being disrespectful?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody came in, like take Beale Manor, for example, because I was there last year. If somebody came into my house acting like that, they would get some activity, but it wouldn't be what they were looking for.
Gotcha.
They would get an astral kick in the rear end right out the door.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a circus monkey. I'm not giving you what you want if you're going to come in here demanding it. Now, if you ask me, can you touch the K2 meter? Can you turn on the light? Can I will do my level best.
Okay.
Which, and that's something else a lot of people don't understand. It's not like TV. You get 45 minutes on TV, but what you don't see is the other 12 hours of sitting in the dark, hearing nothing, twiddling your thumbs.
Correct. It's very true.
So that is the biggest part of my Ghost Hunting 101 class, which I tried to do it in April. It didn't really take off, but now that I'm going to be on a few podcasts and I'm getting recorded on other people's YouTube channels investigating, people might be like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing, so let me go take his class.
Okay.
So I'm going to
Sure.
try again in September. But my biggest thing is be respectful, because they are humans. Ask yourself, if you're going to go in and start cussing things out, ask yourself, how would you react if someone came into your house and did that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a living person, I would probably be getting arrested. Let's just be honest. So what makes you think you can walk into a place that is haunted and disrespect those spirits?
Very
Because
true.
they are still human. I believe spirit does feel things. That's why when I open my space and I'm doing my healings, I firmly believe that true emotion comes through the spirit, and that helps heal. So
Okay.
just because you've gotten rid of your outer shell, which is all this is, doesn't mean that you've lost your feelings, does not mean that you've lost, your personality and all that stuff. I am of a firm belief, and this is my opinion only. There is no, as we all know as paranormal investigators, there is no such thing as fact. It's all opinion based, how we experience things.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, if you're a jerk in life, you're a jerk in death.
Oh,
If you're a sweetheart in life, you're a sweetheart in death. And I've experienced that. I've been in places where they're like, this person is known to haunt the halls and they were a very bad person. They did this, this, and this. And I'll experience that negativity. But then over here, I'll experience calm and sweet and like, is that grandma baking cookies? And
mm-hmm.
sometimes, and this has been my experience too in certain places, when things get to a certain level of power, whether it's human or otherwise, the good things, I believe, try to protect the living from the foul things. That's my belief. That is something that I have experienced, so I can speak on my experience only, obviously.
Okay.
And you guys also know as investigators that you can be standing side by side with somebody and have two totally different experiences.
Correct.
I can hear something down this way, you can hear something down that way, and she can hear something behind us. And, so none of us can say, oh yeah, I heard what you heard. No, because I heard it over here, you heard it over there, and she heard it back there.
Yeah.
So, but I've got this newfound respect for spirit. When I first started my investigations at Rose Marketplace, things were not going very well in the investigations because they were all rookies. But even though I took 5 years off, I'm like, I've been doing this since I was 19. I know better. So I'm letting rookie mistakes happen.
Okay.
And so I had a conversation where I said, let's not do this anymore. Well, let's approach it from a place of respect instead of being jerks if something's not happening. And the activities ramped up. Things are a bit crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
not in a bad way. And I'm like, that's because we switched how we were approaching this.
Correct.
Because like I said in the beginning of this long-winded rant, they are humans. They're not circus monkeys. They're not going to respond to aggression, but they're going to respond to the nicer approach. Now, I won't say don't do it ever, because I still do it in certain places. I will never do it in somebody's house, ever. In my opinion, they're calling you in to help with an issue. Do not make it worse, because they're going to have to deal with the repercussions of what you started once you leave.
Exactly.
So, but if I'm in like a prison and things are, especially because I have been smacked, poked, punched. I had something one time feel like it was trying to rip my insides out. Yeah, I'm going to lose my temper.
Sure.
I'm going to have that natural reaction of fear and anger and who do you think you are doing this to me? But on the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, you're a shaman. You're a healer. Let's not go back to that dark place that you used to be in.
I completely understand.
If you don't like what they're doing, get those shields back up so they can't do it.
Gotcha.
And I've had to do that a few times where I get yelled at for this by my teachers and stuff, but I will, when I'm doing an investigation, sometimes I don't think I'm doing it intentionally, but I will accidentally let my guard all the way down instead of I like to call it the screen door, main door method. So you got your screen door, you got your big wooden solid door. I will open the big door, the big solid door that you lock and nobody can come in at all. But I'll leave that screen door shut. And I'll leave it locked too. I can see you, I can hear you, but you can't come in. So that nothing can try to possess me, which I think that is very rare anyway. Most possession cases, I think, was just a very strong human spirit who somehow managed to influence somebody.
Okay.
But I don't let myself be influenced very often if I can help it. Now, when I'm doing Estes method, I've been told, and I haven't seen recordings of this, but I've been told that in Estes, because I have PTSD real bad. So when I have a jump scare, I swing first, ask questions later. So I will not let myself be blindfolded because I don't want to accidentally hit somebody. But they say, we'll be watching you and we'll see you close your eyes and watch your head drop. And next thing we know, there's 2 or 3 different voices coming out of your mouth and none of them are yours.
Mm.
And one of my medium friends, I was telling her about it, and she said, I think, because she's been studying this recently, she said, it sounds to me like you're channeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's really cool, but it's also really terrifying because I don't remember anything that happens when that's happening. So how do I come back every time? My opinion, because I know that some of my guides and my ancestors are with me at all times. My grandfather, who is the one who actually gives me the Cherokee blood, he's always there. I always use the phrase my multi-times great-grandfather, who came to me in that vision quest and gave me the name. He actually called me the emerald-eyed raven. And I was like, that's a bit of a tongue twister. So can I shorten it to Emerald Raven, because we need to have something that can roll off the tongue that is not expensive to print. And you know, I believe spirit will talk to you in a way like, so even though he would be ancient at this point and would never speak, you know, the way I talk, he speaks to me the way I talk because he knows that that's how I'm going to understand it.
Okay.
So he's like, yeah, if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. You know, it's the same meaning either way it goes. And I'm like, cool. So, you know, ravens are messengers and gracious me. Ravens are messengers. They're not all darkness like a lot of people say, which is also why I will announce this, because it's coming to a quick close. I'm almost finished with it. I am writing a Raven and Crows Oracle deck because I am tired of the misconception of crows and ravens being this omens of death and these dark things, when, like, traditionally in mythology, I mean, they're messengers for the gods. I mean, Odin had ravens that were messengers, you know. So how am I going to justify believing that they're evil? Like, is there some of them that probably have darkness around them? Probably, but what doesn't? You know, there's good and bad in everything. So, you know, I want to kind of shift the knowledge that people have from these omens of death and these bad things to, they can be that, but they can also be love and light and healing. So the emerald, or the ravens, are messengers. The emerald in Cherokee, or in native traditions in general, I think, is what I found out, is something of a wisdom type stone and a healing stone. So it makes sense that I would be Emerald Raven, as I am healing and passing healing messages when I get them. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me, actually. So this is all the stuff I found out about it, you know, through my research. I do believe I just went completely left to center and probably didn't even answer the question you asked originally.
Hang on.
No, that's fine.
Kathy is one of our team members.
Oh,
But
cool.
you also have Paul here, who's to see you.
Oh Lord, Paul, get off my feed. No,
And
he's the owner of Rhodes Marketplace that I was talking about earlier.
he's
So-
checking in.
Yeah.
He's showing
Everything-
support. Much love.
Everything that I have told you about my experiences up at Rhodes Marketplace, he has probably been involved in some way, shape, or form, because we are usually in the same room, because I am very, very firm on my belief in the buddy system, because I believe it is a safety thing.
Right.
Now, in the store, I will go off somewhere by myself once in a while, because, you know, I go there almost every week. I know it inside and out. So I'm not going to get, well, that's not true because I almost fell on my face yesterday.
Oh no.
But to be fair, I was an idiot and didn't turn my light on first. But
Okay.
but he was just outside the room when it happened, so therein lies the safety. But like especially in prisons, whether even the reformatory where they've got cameras and they've got volunteers walking around, do not go by yourself in these old abandoned buildings and stuff that we love so much. Don't go by yourself because first of all, safety. If
Correct.
something happens to you, you need somebody who can get help.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Also, on the chance that the person who's with you experiences the same thing that you just did, that is a validator for you and anybody else. We both experienced. Doesn't always work out that way, but when we get lucky, we get lucky.
Correct.
But my biggest thing is always safety, 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 safety. Like I am not going to do anybody any good as an investigator if I get hurt because I was too stupid to have somebody with me.
Absolutely.
I got my cell phone with me at all times, and of course, I tell everybody, if you have your cell phone, you have all the equipment you need. You got a camera, you got a flashlight, you got a voice recorder.
Correct.
And if you get into trouble, you can call out. But what if you're hurt and can't get to your phone? What if you are in a position not to get to your phone? That's where you need somebody else with you. So I don't like going to places by myself. And if I do go on like a public investigation, which I do love doing that because you get to meet so many people that way. I don't know why this happens to me. Probably because I was called to be a healer, but one of my medium friends said, I believe you're also being called to teach. And I've been asked to teach what I do. And I'm like, I can't teach what I do because I don't fully understand it yet. In the moment, I know exactly what I have to do, but I don't know how to explain it. So how can I teach it if I cannot fully understand it?
Correct.
So I'm like, if the day comes where, I get all this knowledge and I can teach, and absolutely, and maybe they even maybe the teach that they were talking about was teaching people how to ghost hunt, because I always end up with the greenest investigators you can ever hope to meet. People who it's their first investigation, they think it's like it is on TV, and I'm like, but it's not. So I always end up being the leader, and they flock to me, and I have to show them the ropes. And I'm like, if I catch them shouting, I'm like, hey, bring it down, like 10 levels here, because they can hear you just as easily as we can hear each other. Exactly. They're dead, not deaf.
Correct.
And so we don't need to shout.
Very true. When our team's the same way, we don't go anywhere by ourselves, and never should, because we don't know what's going to happen to you or what may happen. And so,
that's my biggest thing. Don't do that, because it's just horrible. It's bad for you. It's not safe, and safety is the number one priority, no matter what you're doing.
So Paul says that your voice changes during Estes.
Yep. See, because he's experienced that, where I'll have 2 or 3 voices coming out at different times, like 2 people are arguing. The only time I can remember what happened was because the spirit stopped by to say thank you to me on its way out. Because of the words that the people around me said, and because I have like the gift of knowing, so like things will just click sometimes. So when I came to the conclusion that he was a slave, he was beaten and murdered for SAing a white woman who he'd never touched. And my telling him, you are forgiven, I know you didn't do it, you are forgiven, helped him find peace. Okay. So in that time frame, they said that I was talking like the slave, so using the kind of language you would probably see in like a Hollywood movie, and then doing this Southern male accent, using words like boy and all that stuff. I refuse. And I have heard this word in Estes before, I will not say the N word ever. I'm like, listen, you got to pick a different word because I ain't saying that one.
Mm.
You can find a better way to say that. And I've actually, there's been a couple times, there's a place in Galion, Ohio. It called my friend the B word so many times. I was like, she's only going to be one more B word before you have to deal with me. Because at this point I was a shaman. Now, I don't want to, and it's not my place to make spirit move on without the permission of the people who own the property.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are going to constantly be disrespectful to the people around you when two of the owners are female and you're using this kind of language, you got to go.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I can move spirits on. I can do all of that work. That's part of the training. That comes with being a shaman. So I just don't actively do it unless I'm asked to. Because if I'm not asked to, then it's not my place to decide that needs to happen. Now, on the occasion that something does come home with me, yes, I'm like, you got to go. You ain't allowed to be here. This is my safe space. This is my holy space, and the only spirits allowed in here are my teachers and my ancestors. I have 3 rules. Don't mess with me when I'm sleeping. Don't mess with me while I'm at work. And leave my dog alone. Because I know she can see you, but sometimes I'll go and she'll be just all shaking and stuff. I'm like, baby girl, I'm here. What are you seeing? Where is it? I'll take care of it. And I'll light some Palo Santos and sage. I'll spray stuff. There was something in my room one time so powerful that I sprayed my sprays and I lit sage and Palo Santo. I smoked and misted and everything. I'm like, you're strong, but honey, I'm stronger because you got the wrong one today. You messed with the wrong person's dog. Because I love my dog. She is, she's my child. And you don't mess with the babies. No. Well, that's another one of my rules is you do not mess with children.
Okay.
My friend called me one night out because I used to work 3rd shift here at the hotel. She called me one night. I was at work. She was freaking out. Her daughter had woke up screaming, said there was a man standing in her door watching her and all this other wild stuff. And I said, I can come over in the morning after they're at school because I'm at work, so there's not much I can do right now. But then my heart would not let me drop it. So I put out the sign that says, be back in 10 minutes. I went into the back office. I shut the door. I turned on some meditation music. And I spiritually traveled to her house. And I ended up pulling that spirit back with me. And I took care of it in my room here. So, and apparently my amethyst skull that I have helped me with that because I woke up and she had a chip in her chin. And somebody who works with skulls and can communicate, or with crystal skulls and can communicate with them, told me when you had that battle, she took a hit. And I'm like, I appreciate that, but why? Like, I don't want you to get hurt. Even crystals, I do not want you to get hurt because something was coming after me. But then again, you can't tell crystals what to do. They decide what they're going to do.
That's true. Well, Paul says you're a very good teacher, and he's seen you arguing voices and arguments between 2 people during Estes, so that'd be pretty fascinating to see that come about. Do you ever speak a different language? I mean, does a different language come out other than English?
I've never been told that I've done it, so I'm going to assume no. But the first time anybody told me I did it was actually at Beale Manor. And I don't remember any of this interaction, but they said they got it on camera and everything, but they never did send me the footage. I'm like, well, how can I know what happened if I don't see it? But they said I was this old man, and I was yelling at some children that I was the children, cowering from the old man. And apparently, and excuse my language, but at one point I said, "Lay your ass down," and then I slapped the taste out of my own mouth so hard that the crack echoed through the room.
Wow.
And apparently when that happened, I laid down. And I'm like, I don't remember that, but that explains why my face is on fire.
Exactly. Yeah, Paul says he hasn't heard another language, and he doesn't even know what happened. He doesn't recommend it. He doesn't understand. You never remember what happened. Bill Manor, has a home for the wayward and sick children at one time, so I can imagine that did happen there. That place is fascinating. I spent 2 days there doing that. So I'm going to switch a little bit because we're getting up to the hour part.
Absolutely.
Cryptids. Talk to me about cryptids and what your theory is.
I've got this crazy theory, and my main theory about them I'm not going to share at this time because it's going to be kind of my mic drop at the end of my series. But let's just say I believe that they're all one type of creature.
Okay.
That is that face that you just made, Brenda, is exactly why I said it, because I'm hoping more people made that face. Because and it's a wild theory, and if we ever found out it was true, my goodness. It's a creature that I hate to say the name of, so I would only ever say it one time. But I do believe that they're all one creature. But so I have, and full details are in my book, of course, but I have had an encounter with Bigfoot twice. There's a local Bigfoot who I seen him the first time. No, I seen him both times. And then, so I would have seen him on a Wednesday, and then like 2 or 3 months later, it must have been a Saturday. And then after the second one, on the following Tuesday or Wednesday, I got a book called Chasing American Monsters. They got creatures from each state. So the first thing you do, you flip to your state and see which creatures they picked. So I get to Ohio, and, of course, they got the Frogman.
Dogman.
They didn't do Dogman. They did Grassman. Grassman. And then I saw Mifflin, and I'm like, that's right down the street. So I started reading about this Bigfoot creature, and I was reading it when my friend walked in, because I was reading it at work, and she worked third that night. I worked second. I was reading it, and she walked in. She said, what just happened? I said, what do you mean? She's like, I see your face. What just happened? And I said, well, that Bigfoot that I said I saw and the description I gave of it? She's like, yeah. And I turned that book around. I said, read this. And she looked at me like, oh my God. So it was in Mifflin, which is Charles Mill Lake, which, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes away, maybe 30. I'm not sure exactly. And apparently when they cut the state route through there, he was basically pushed out of that area. I seen him in Mohican. Now, Mohican is driving, I would say, 20 minutes from Mifflin. So, and it's a state park. There's forests. There's places that, humans can't traverse. We can't go to certain places. So in my mind, it's conceivable that through cornfields and patches of woods, he traveled from Mifflin to Mohican, where he had food, shelter, and water. Because we haven't found any bodies, so any Bigfoot has to be smart. With Bigfoot, I will say, and this I can safely say, I believe that every theory is true and every theory is false. So there's some that it's a government experiment. Okay, some of them maybe. There's some that it's a misidentified extinct animal, Gigantopithecus. Some of them, yeah, sure, maybe. There's some that they are aliens, because a lot of times when you have an uptick, like up in Northeast Ohio earlier this year, there was an uptake in Bigfoot sightings reported and an uptake in UFO sightings reported. So they kind of went hand in hand, and they were in the same area. So some people think they are aliens. And I'm like, okay. But the one that hits me more than anything, and we've talked about the fact that my Cherokee heritage is what got me where I am now. So when the natives say something, I'm going to listen. How much of it is crap, how much of it is real, I don't know. But they saw something that spurred the legends that they now tell.
Sure.
So there's one tribe, I can't remember what it is, but they apparently had a war with a clan of Bigfoot. In the truce, they built a wall between their lands and said if a human crosses that wall, you can do what you want with them, no repercussions. And if a Bigfoot crosses the wall into our land, we can do what we want to with no repercussions. And apparently there was a treaty formed which tells me that they are smart. But more native tribes than that say that they are dimension walkers, which is why we can't find bodies, because they're not in this dimension when they die. And that has always resonated with me, because I'm like, that is a distinct possibility. Because the natives saw something that made them go down the path to say that.
Right.
So, I believe that all of them hold water. It's just like which bucket is full and which ones are empty.
So, with that being said, and you saying that you believe it's one,
Yes.
do you think that society or whatever, everybody sees it differently, and that's how they come up with the different type of cryptids?
I think that's a distinct possibility too. That is part of what my thought process is. And honestly, like the day that I say what I'm going to say, people like us who are really into this, they're going to hear that and they're going to stop and they're going to be like, you know what? He might be right.
So,
Because one thing that surrounds this particular creature, but also surrounds almost every single cryptid you ever heard of, is an undeniable, unnatural, unexplainable fear in the person who sees it. And I'm like, there is not a coincidence.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and it kind of goes along the lines of, even in the paranormal world as well, one person can see a clown, somebody
Right.
else is looking the same direction, they see something else. So,
Right.
Yeah.
it's however, so yeah, that's actually, it's
Yeah. Right. And I agree with that, because I have been standing side by side with one of my friends who is a medium, and he picked up on this little child and we were in a elementary school. He picked up on this kid who was just the sweetest thing, but it was scared. While behind me, I was picking up on what he was afraid of, because there was a person, I don't know if it was a teacher, janitor, or what have you, that would abuse the children down in that room. So I'm picking up on him while my friend's picking up on the child, but we're standing side by side.
Mhm.
And I'm like, so that's, goes back to what I said earlier, like we can be standing in the same room, have totally different experiences.
Yeah.
Sure.
With cryptids, cryptids could be the same way. I could be standing beside each of you. I could see a Bigfoot. Tim, you could see a dogman, and Brenda, you could see a freaking unicorn. I don't know.
Mhm.
Well, you got to be in Wales to see that. But that my point is, we can all be standing side by side and have completely different experiences, and I think that goes for paranormal and cryptid encounters. My friend, the second time I saw Bigfoot, she was right beside me, and she was looking dead at it, but didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
And it wasn't one of those things where they said they didn't see it and had like the fear in their voice, like I saw it, but I'm not going to admit that I saw it because it's terrifying. It was straightforward, hard line. I did not see whatever you saw.
Sure.
Okay, I get that. That's fine. I always tell people I'm not here to make anybody a believer, but when I can make a believer out of a skeptic, that is one of the biggest rewards that I can ever get.
Sure. So do you think that the paranormal side of a cryptid is, some people see it and some don't? Or do you think there's a paranormal side to that?
I think that's a distinct possibility. I really do.
Okay.
Paranormal is really a broad spectrum. When you think about paranormal, is anything out of the normal. So that goes
Correct.
for ghosts, cryptids.
Exactly.
So, when I say, that's why I used to tell people I was a ghost hunter. I'm like, I'm not a ghost hunter. I'm a paranormal investigator, because I
Right.
look for spirits and for creatures. So
Yeah.
I'm a paranormal investigator, not a ghost hunter.
Gotcha. That makes
So I'm
sense.
like, I look for the
Mhm.
I look for the unknown. That is why my book is Journey into the Unknown. That's
Okay.
why my YouTube is Journey into the Unknown, because I kind of wrote a song for Emerald Raven, and part of it says, because I'm talking about myself, obviously. At one point during the chorus, I say, someone's got to walk these roads when legends come alive.
Mm.
That's what we do. We
Sure.
go into places that other people are terrified to go, and we go in there with our banners waving, ready to deal with whatever is coming
Sure.
at us. Are we scared? Probably. I'm a shaman, and I still get freaked out sometimes, but I don't show it. I go in and I'm like, listen, you're not going to scare me, but inside I am screaming like a child.
I
I'm like,
understand.
but my vibrato says, you're not going to get me, C-Miles. So go on ahead and bring it down, because you're not as scary as you think, even though
Yeah.
I am completely terrified.
Yeah, agreed. We see, so as paranormal investigators, we see a lot in our lifetime
Oh,
by
absolutely.
investigating. I mean, we come across things that other people will never ever believe or ever understand or
Right.
be scared of. So that does happen a lot. We get
And I
that
agree.
glassy-eyed look. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it does happen, but sure.
Yeah, and I did. Now, I will tell one more story, because I think you guys are probably just about ready to kick me out.
No, you
Um,
go on. It was fine.
so I didn't charge them for their readings, because we were just sitting in the garage and they were my friends. And I'm like, well, let me just do it, get a few more under my belt, get more experience. That's fine. So I did it for two or three of the girls. And then one of the girls' brother was standing there, and he was like rolling his eyes and da 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 da. He's like, I don't believe that crap. He didn't say crap, obviously, but.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how about this? I was like, I'll make a deal with you. You let me do a reading on you. If I do not, and see, I didn't know him. I don't know him at all very well. We see each other every now and again, but I'm friends with his sister and his cousin. So I'm like, if I don't get anything right, you can call me a fraud, and I'll put down my cards forever. There was one point I was pulling the cards, and the first few cards, he was like, yeah, okay. And then there was one point he stopped, and his face changed. I said, I got him. I said, whatever I just said, I got him. Now let's reel him in. Let's give him the best reading I can possibly do, which I do every time anyway. But by the end, somebody else said, how is he? Because they didn't necessarily believe either. They said, I don't know how it went for the other two, but as for me, I can tell you he is effing legit. And I'm like, when you rolled your eyes and refused to believe the words I was saying, despite the fact that the two girls were saying that everything was on point for them, I get that. I'm friends with them. You might say, well, you know things about them, so of course you can make up whatever you want to. I get that. That's what a skeptic does anyway. And this is why I love skeptics, because they will challenge our ideology and make us look even deeper into it than we might already want to. But when you can take somebody that was that skeptical, and by the end of the reading, they believe, they may not believe in all people who do it, but they at least believe in you, that is the biggest win you can. That's better than any money. I can't pay my bills with making a skeptic a believer, but man, it felt good.
I bet it did.
Seeing that face change the way it did, I said, yes, I
Oh,
got it.
it's rewarding. That's a part of it. Yeah.
And then
Oh,
that's another one of those moments where I have to check my ego.
sure. So Paul says, I see Emerald Raven doing his thing. And he also
Always
says
do.
he had nothing but love for Emerald Raven. This guy is definitely amazing. But he says here, that's the most he's talked in months. I enjoyed this. So
Oh, shut up! I talk on our podcast all the time. When you're quiet long enough for anybody else to talk.
Ooh.
no, so we appreciate you coming on and doing this.
I'm glad you guys
Fascinating. It's been a fascinating hour. It truly
Yeah,
has.
this is
I have learned so
great.
much from this. I like your attitude and I like your thoughts and about the cryptid thing all being wrong. I'm going to contemplate on that because I never ever thought that would be something. You know, we talk. I always thought about it being individual because they're across the
Yeah.
country. So that's how I look at it. Because why would they be here? But that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Well, I'll
That's
tell you what. I'm going to do you guys a favor. You're going to be the first ones to ever hear it. I will send it to you in an email when we hang up. I'll tell you what I think it is.
Okay, that'd be
We won't
fascinating.
tell. We'll
And
keep it quiet. We won't tell.
I trust you. I haven't even told Paul. I haven't even told him what I think it is.
Uh-oh.
Even my best friend, I told her, I was like, you know what? I've got an idea of what it is. And she's like, what? I was like, I ain't telling you. Like, you're just going to have to wait and find out with everybody else
Oh, cool.
because it's that good.
Yeah,
Oh, I can't wait for this because I finally got Brenda talked in a little bit. I think going looking for the dog man. I think I got her.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
She's
but-
like, nah.
no,
No.
I'll go. I'll
well,
go.
it's a 3-day camping in the woods with no water and surviving it. You know, that's the thing.
That would be fun.
One with
that would be
nature, I'm there.
That would be fun. It really would. But if you guys ever get a chance, like as investigators, we would love to have you at Rhodes Marketplace in Sandusky,
Yeah.
Ohio. You said something about being interested in possibly doing a reading. So there's for the private
Yeah.
investigation, there's two options. The first option is you come in, sign your waiver for $30, and we start investigating. The second option, which discounts what full price would have been if you got both things, for $50, it would normally be $55 or $60, but for $50, I will give you a 15-minute oracle card reading or energy healing, and
Okay.
then we will investigate.
Okay.
So if
So
you guys ever want to do that, let us know. Like, we would be more than happy to get you guys out there.
Oh, cool. I need to do that because I'd like for Brenda and their team if we could go to Beale Manor. I think that'd be a really cool place for her to go. And
We are actually, and if Paul, if you're still in here, maybe you can comment on here and tell me if I'm right or wrong. I want to say we're only about 30 minutes from Beale Manor.
Correct. It's not very far.
So
We went up to Sandusky. I left there and went to Sandusky just to go up the lake area and get some pictures and
Yeah.
stuff. So we done that. So
yeah, so we're right there. I mean, very
Right.
close. So if you get over there and do that, I mean, whatever day you're thinking about doing that, maybe you do that whatever day. And then I think right now we're only offering Saturdays because that's the only day I can actually be there because of my regular job.
okay.
But we would definitely get you guys scheduled 100%.
Okay. Well, we may have to make a trip out there and do that. I think we probably will.
We'd love to see you.
That'd be awesome.
This
Brenda?
has been, and I love this podcast. This has been great. Like, I just sat here and I learned so much. Like, it was great. Thank
That's
you
the
so
thing.
much.
Once you get me talking, I don't shut up.
No, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you
great.
guys had me.
Guys, he's got the book relaunch happening at
Goddess Elite in North Olmsted, Ohio.
that is going to be July 25th from 1 to
Yep.
5.
Yep,
So make
and
sure
then
you guys go check out his book series.
so that day I'm only going to have the books. I'll be signing them, talking to people. If people want pictures, which I don't know why they would, but if you do, I mean, I do look like a busted can of biscuits. So, but if you
Perfect.
want pictures, that's great. But I'm glad to talk to anybody. And I've got a paranormal book, I've got a poetry book, and I have the first 2 books in a fantasy series that I'm writing. So those will all be available that day, which is going to be amazing.
Man, working a full-time job, how do you find time to do all this? Holy
Well,
moly.
At my full-time job, I work the front desk at a hotel in a village that is not very busy. So, I'm actually talking to you guys this whole hour and 15 minutes while I'm at work, and I
Yeah.
haven't been interrupted. So, this is how I get everything done because I can sit
Okay.
here and I can work on all of my stuff as long as I get my other things done and I stop and check people in when they do come in. My boss is like, "You do what you have to do," and I'm
Oh,
like,
cool.
"All right, say
That's
less."
very cool.
On nights I used to pretty much be paid to watch Netflix, so I was like, "Well,
Well,
why not start doing all your writing and stuff while you're sitting here watching TV?"
oh, that's true. Cool. That's a
So,
cool thing.
So,
absolutely,
anyway, yeah, make sure you guys are checking out Emerald Ravens Hollow page on Facebook. You'll get to see his books and all of his other stuff.
absolutely,
We will definitely have you back
Yes.
in the future.
absolutely.
Yes. I want to learn more. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know, like mind blown.
I will give one more piece of advice for anybody who's watching who might be thinking about getting into investigations. Your greatest piece of equipment is you.
Correct.
Your instincts never lie to you, and they will pick up on something 10 times faster than anything that
Okay.
has a battery in it.
That's true.
So if you feel something, trust it, it's there.
Correct.
Yeah,
Totally agree.
that is
And always, 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 always have a flashlight. Safety first.
One that works anyway, right?
Happy Father's Day to you guys out there. I did forget
Absolutely.
to say that at the top, but happy Father's Day out there. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
It was my pleasure.
Wednesday night, Tim and Misty will be live with the 918 files at 7 Central. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Emerald.
Have
for
a
being
good
here.
night, everybody. That was my pleasure. I'm glad to meet you guys.